you were attacked viciously by the critics, and yet there were people that said you're compared you to Picasso. Would bring up Walt Whitman, I believe America's greatest poet. Do you feel you share things with these two people? I mean, other people seem to think so.
Well, I love when Walt Whitman says, it's okay if I contradict myself, I contain multitudes.
Right.
And so I think if you look at this show, there's a lot of different versions of what a painting can be. And obviously, at a certain moment, there's a part of my brain that's a storyteller, so I guess I started to make films also. But one thing is when somebody comes to your studio and you have one painting and then, or a group of pictures, and you say, okay, I'm going to pull this one out and show you something, and it looks radically different. They go, well, wait a minute, let me try to wrap my head around that. And then they come over another time and you're not making a painting, but you're showing them a film. And then they say, well, what happened to the paintings? I mean, why are you jumping ahead so quickly? You know, I can't, let me catch up to you. And I think that, in a way, everybody's got their own trajectory and their own life to live, and they don't have time to figure out necessarily all the intricacies or interests in everybody. And if you don't couture your work to please or placate the audience, that could be a problem in the short term. In the long term, it doesn't matter, because I think an artist works at making their work, and ultimately what is satisfying is doing the work, not having people agree with you.
Right.
Now, maybe on occasion when I was younger, the unwillingness to sort of have be more social in some kind of way could be seen as arrogance, or saying no to certain things, or not wanting to be co-opted in certain ways. And obviously when you're young, you know, I remember Jean-Michel being interviewed once, and somebody was asking him, he said, you know, this was the product of a young mind. And I mean, when he was saying this, he was maybe 25, but he was talking about when he was 20. But he was so smart that, you know, one time I was looking at a painting of his. He said, well, what do you think? I said, well, if I did it, he said, wait, this is my version. And I thought, now that's smart. And so there was, I thought about that a lot. And, but until you do, you know, sometimes obviously we're insensitive when we're younger. And for example, there was a guy named Rockets Red Glare. Did you ever know Rockets?
No.
Because he used to do this comedy show in the East Village. And he was a big fat guy. And he's actually in the movie Basquiat as the drug dealer.
Yeah.
And Rockets was walking near Gramercy Park, and I saw him one day. I said, where are you going? He said, I'm going to Jean-Michel. He's going to make a painting of me. So I said, I'll make a painting of you. Just come over to my studio. Just like that. Now, I didn't mean anything by it. I was unconscious. I didn't mean to insult Jean. The guy came over, made the painting, but his feelings were hurt. Jean-Michel's feelings were hurt by that. And, you know, you're kind of, you're young and unconsciously competitive. I was older than him, but I still was young enough to be stupid. And when I made the movie, I had a scene where Gary Oldman comes in and sees René Ricard. And he says to him, what are you doing? He says, he says, you know, if you want to come over, I'll make a portrait of you. And he leaves Jean-Michel's studio. And then you see Jeffrey Wright, because he was making a painting for René, and it said, René's something, 7-Eleven or whatever it was. And then he basically crosses it out. And you see, and then you understand what constitutes the history of marks in painting sometimes, that this guy wrote something on there, but then, and that was one good, you know, something that was helpful in making a movie about a guy that writes words on his painting or writes things that people can recognize, because if somebody crosses that out, you could go, he crossed out the name because the guy left his studio. So you could see that Jean-Michel's feelings were hurt, and, you know, maybe that was a way of answering Jean, even, you know, post-death or whatever, just saying to him, yeah, I'm sorry.
In Basquiat, you painted his paintings, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
With an assistant, or?
Yeah, I did. And yeah, I did with Greg Bogan painted some. I painted them also.
Studying your career, and earlier today you said you don't have a career, I noticed that as your popularity lessened, say, in this country, you were doing more and more shows in Europe. And you seem to be still today, much more respected and understood in Europe. Is this true, or am I imagining it?
Well, you know, there's it's very interesting, some of the things you're saying, because you know, there's a text upstairs. When we get done, you should read this, because it's written by Bill Gaddis. Were you standing there?
You read it. You read it.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was wonderful. It's also in the book. I read it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, you know, actually that line, you know, we're living in a world, it's not who did it first, it's who did it last. Well, Bill stole that from me. I told him, and I said, just, you can put that in there if you want. But the deal is that we're living in a very myopic society, and if there's just fuel for whatever fire that is, things kind of get used up, and then there's a whole new landscape of artists around, and there are different reasons why people become popular or not. But the truth of the matter is that if whatever you're doing is useful, like in a utilitarian way, say young artists that are coming up now that are in their 30s or whatever, they look at my work and they think, I can use that, I know what to do. I was sort of saying something about that in this press conference, because I feel like it comes late sometimes, but now the ball comes back in my court a lot. And, you know, I kept my autonomy, I kept my freedom, I don't owe anything to anyone. And somebody that says that, you could be construed as arrogant, you know. But the point is that somehow I figured out a way to work and have make a privilege for myself to work, and not compromise, not make movies that where somebody says, okay, that's good, but we're going to change this around now, and we have final cut, so I have final cut on all the films that I make.
Your final cut? Oh.
Yeah, from the beginning.
So you sit in with the editor?
I edit the movies.
You edit them yourself?
Well, I have an editor next to me that knows how to work the thing,
so you're right.
But I'm responsible for every second that's in the movie.